Welcome back guys, it's time to talk about some weapons, because I'm often asked if the two weapons you have seen in the thumbnail are actually worth getting or worth using. Yes, I'm speaking of the Blade of Yumminess and Zeus's premature electrical discharge, also known as the Zeus sword. As you might already know, you can get the Blade of Yumminess at any blacksmith and it will randomly occur with roughly a chance of 1 to 40. So if you just sit there and use the blacksmith reload, make a manual save, and if you just continue to reload that save and check out the blacksmith, it will eventually appear relatively quickly in his menu. And a lot of people will now say this is a must-have weapon, you have to get this weapon because on early levels it will give you a huge bonus and you definitely need this weapon. This is actually not the case. The Blade of Yumminess will make you deal less damage and it will make the game harder to play for you, especially on early levels. On paper, the Blade of Yumminess actually looks quite great. It gives you 250% damage. But you have to know this is only a stackable bonus, so that is not a multiplier. So if you already have 250% warrior damage, which is quite common even early on, and you add another 250%, it only doubles your damage. So that is not a multiplier, it is only stacking. And doubling your damage is basically the same as 100% critical damage would also do. But much more important is the fact that you can no longer use your abilities. And that means you are stuck with your light attack, with your heavy attack. You can only use normal arrows and normal assassinations. The best ability you will still be able to use is the charged heavy attack, which is not the best one to say the least. And that means you cannot use any overpower attacks to one-shot mythical creatures, you cannot use Ring of Chaos for crowd control, you cannot use devastating shots, and you cannot use rush assassination. All these abilities make this game so fantastic, so enjoyable, and so much easier to play if you use them. But the worst of all is, you cannot heal your character. So once you're hit, you are stuck at medium health or low health and you will not have your high crit chance. It makes you deal less damage not only because you cannot use your abilities, but also because you cannot have the maximum crit chance sustained at any time, which will also result in less critical hits and less damage overall. And the inability to heal makes it actually harder to survive. You always have to get out of combat to make your character heal. And especially early on, you won't have these perks that give you health back when you hit your enemies. This is just working on higher levels, but not early on. And don't forget that all the abilities in this game are additional multipliers, multiplying your damage 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or even more than that. And these 250% stackable base damage bonus will never make up the additional multipliers from your abilities. So the Blade of Yumminess lets you stuck with your weakest attacks, you cannot heal yourself, you cannot sustain your crit chance, and all this will make you deal way less damage and makes the game much less enjoyable and much harder to play. But you can actually get the same damage even early on without having any of these negative effects. And that is by collecting the Champion Ostraka from Corfu Island. You can just go to Corfu Island even early on, you don't have to do all the quests, you only have to go to the Collidi farm in the north, collect the tablet with the riddle, and then go to the solution location for the Champion Ostraka and collect the plus 100% damage but minus 100% resistances. That sounds very negative, but in fact this engraving gives you 200% damage, and the negative effect is still way better than not being able to heal or not using any of your abilities. And you will basically deal the same damage and it's completely free, you don't have to spend any money, just go there, get it and use it. The other legendary weapon we have to talk about is the Olympus Judgment, and that weapon actually comes with the new Zeus starter pack. It looks absolutely great, except if you don't like the permanent electrical noise it makes, but it has really bad stats. It has warrior damage and then it has an adrenaline perk, so basically one completely wasted engraving slot. You should never have any adrenaline on your gear, you should always focus on damage perks and how to increase your damage and not focus on a tiny bit of more adrenaline. So if you want to use this sword, you would actually have to engrave damage swords just to make it a little bit more useful. But then we have the legendary perks that reduces the enemy's health by 10% on every 5th hit. So I definitely meant that this is absolutely trash when I said it the first time. Because if you have a build that needs more than 5 hits to kill any enemy in the game, then your build absolutely sucks and you should rather work on your build instead of salvaging the mess you actually play with. In fact, if you only rely on that ability, that means that you have to hit your enemy 50 times to actually kill him by only using that ability if you don't deal any other damage than that. On the other hand, if you have any build that deals 10% damage in a normal hit, then it would already be better than using this weapon. And especially all the early builds, even at level 20, will only need 1 or 2 light attack to kill every enemy in this game, at least if they are on your level. So when you equip the Olympus Judgment, you will actually lose 10% of your damage compared to a perfect epic sword for every hit you make with that weapon. That means you will lose 10% damage for all the first 4 hits, just to deal maybe a little bit more on the 5th one. But every enemy should already be dead at the 1st or 2nd hit anyway, so you don't get a damage boost, you actually reduce your damage. And that is often an argument that you may be able to use this weapon to hit mythical creatures or kill a mercenary on a higher level. Well, I guarantee you, if you need 50 arrows to kill a mercenary which is level 30 and you are level 5, you will not make this work, because he will hit you once or twice and you die, and this will also be the case on the mythical creatures as well. Being there at very low level just makes you a very easy target, and it actually won't be easy to pull that off. It might actually help you if you are only like 1 or 2 levels below the mythical creature. But not if you're 10 or 20 levels below that. Forget it, you will just die. So it's not a valid argument in my opinion. And if you are around the same level, you can just make one of the crazy builds on this channel and one-shot it, instead of using a weapon that reduces your damage. What you should use instead are perfect epic swords with warrior damage, damage swords and critical damage. You can find one of these when you do the A Friend in Need quest in Attica. Just lie to Hathor to keep the sword, or just go to the Parthenon and loot the Sword of Action, which has warrior damage, damage sword and fire damage. Both of these swords are much better than any other legendary sword in the game, and if you still want to use a legendary engraving, you can just engrave it on these epic items, which will be much better and give you more damage after all. So especially if you're a new player, please don't fall into these 2 noob traps. Don't use the Blade of Yumminess, don't use the Olympus Judgment. If you want to deal more damage, use one of the crazy builds from this channel that will deal over 1 million damage at level 20. Use the Corfu engraving with plus 200% damage, use the Fax of Olympus, use your abilities to have much more fun with this game. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.